Warning, the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Southern Fried Paranormal with Len Dorman featuring Bones. Catch us on Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, Stream, and everywhere else you catch your podcasts. And of course, WLFE-DB.com. Now, from the backwoods of southeast Arkansas, right beside the Bayou Bartholomew, the longest bayou on the planet, broadcasting from downtown metropolitan Cane Creek Township, here is your host, Len Dorman.
Good evening, everyone, or whatever time it is, whenever you're watching this on podcast. Glad to have you tonight. Tonight, we have two guests. I was only expecting one, but we have two, Ronnie and Leanne, and we are going to talk about the old Pittsburgh hospital. So we're going to talk about the history of the building. We're going to see what's going on, where you can go to find this place, where you can go to find and talk to Ronnie and Leanne. We're going to talk about all of this tonight. So I'm going to be asking the pertinent questions, and they're going to give us some informative answers because Ronnie and Leanne know all about this location, which I don't know a whole lot about, as a lot of the listeners are in the same book. So without further ado, let me bring them in. Here we are, Ronnie and Leanne. How are you two tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Len?
I'm doing just great. I'm hyped up on sweet tea. As you know from the intro, I'm broadcast on kind of slower internet for a show because I'm down here in Cane Creek Township. Population, maybe 25 of us. Oh. I live a mile outside the capital, or should I say capital, where the Capitol building is, where the courthouse is, of Lincoln County, Arkansas, which is Star City. Population right at 2,200 people. So that's where we go shopping. Dollar General and Family Dollar. So, Ronnie, Leanne, tell us a little bit about yourselves and Pittsburgh Hospital, which I'm very curious about.
Go ahead, Leanne. You start.
What?
Go ahead.
I'm having trouble hearing because of the wind. What did you say?
You start up, Leanne.
Okay. Well, I'm Leanne. I'm the historian at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital.
And
what?
And
Old Historical Haunted Harriman Hospital. OHHH and OSPH. Ronnie didn't prepare me for this. I found about this about 5 minutes ago, so I'm really nervous. But I started volunteering at the hospital around 2019. When Ronnie purchased the hospital, there was a lot of history that was inaccurate, and since around 2020, we actually started working with the Historical Society in South Pittsburgh, and a lot of the history was actually made up for a scare tactic, and we have really worked hard to represent South Pittsburgh the way that it should be.
Are you telling me that people lied about the history of the hospital?
I couldn't hear what he said. I'm sorry. The sound is bad. I don't have earbuds. What did you say, Len?
I said, are you trying to say that people lied about the history of the hospital?
Ronnie can answer that.
I wouldn't say so much as lied as pretty much exaggerated.
Embellish.
The truth. Yeah, embellish the truth a lot. There was a lot of things that we heard about that we're still trying to uncover the truths about. And kind of the thing that my team and I have taken an approach with is that if we don't have it in writing, or if we don't have some real strong, evidence or background of the history that's being spoken about, then we just won't share it. We really need it to be documented and to be correct. We can't make assumptions. So one thing that Leanne and Darla and one of the old volunteers did was get in touch with the Historical Society, a couple of the local historians in the area, and we're trying to really get the proper history of the hospital. And we're finding that a lot of the history that old ownership and management were kind of spreading around were far from the truth. So Leanne and Darla are cleaning that up pretty good. And then we try and do the same with when we see a podcast or something out there and that previous history is being passed around. We try and ask those podcasters to, make the proper adjustments so that the proper history is being told, and we're not talking about history that never really occurred.
All right. Well, no chance of that because I don't know any of the alternative history, let's say, of the place. So, right. Leanne, if you'll go ahead and tell us the truthful history of the location, what actually happened there.
Well, the hospital was founded in, actually the groundbreaking was in 1958 by three doctors, Dr. Havren, Dr. Taylor, and Dr. Hedrick. And the hospital opened on October the 13th of 1959. And it was that had an ER, had a labor and delivery, had lab, had x-ray, had surgical suites. Also the clinic, the Tri-City Clinic is really why the hospital was built. So the Tri-City Clinic and then the hospital are kind of adjoined. Actually, the Tri-City Clinic is one of our favorite areas of the hospital. And the hospital actually had a total of 3 additions up until it closed in 1998. It actually closed because it relocated closer to the interstate. It wasn't because of malpractice or any type of treatment that they shouldn't have done. What else do I say, Ronnie? I'm so nervous right now. I can't think of what I'm saying.
You're doing wonderful, Leanne. You're really doing well.
You're doing fabulous. Absolutely fabulous.
Everybody who's watching this podcast, this is Leanne's first shot at this. And I know she's going to be really embarrassed because we, the OSPH family, just bought another hospital here in Tennessee. And we have some big filming going on in the next couple of weeks. And Leanne is one of those people who is going to be once again on TV. So she's going to have to get over her nervousness real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Ronnie, where can people, you've said that you're the initials of your group. If you could lay a proper name out and where they can reach you to get more information.
Sure, they can reach us on Facebook at Haunted Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. They can also reach us on the World Wide Web at osphprc.com. It's pretty easy.
Okay. I gather those initials stand for Old Pittsburgh Hospital somewhere on there.
Old South Pittsburgh Hospital Paranormal Research Center. We had to change it a little bit up because we wanted to really separate ourselves from the old owners to the new owners. Obviously, us being the new owners, and wanted to make sure that we kind of started fresh with the hospital.
Yeah, I can see why you stick with initials. That's a mouthful of a name.
Right.
It's kind of like watching a Marvel movie and them telling what SHIELD stands for.
Yeah, right.
Because if you watch that, the first Iron Man movie, they actually said that a couple of times, and that is a double mouthful.
Oh, yeah.
But Leanne, if you could go on and tell us what happened there that makes it a haunted location, and the truth. Let's not get to the exaggerated parts.
Well, I think that I'm not saying that I have an experience every time I come there because, it's usually because I'm either doing a day tour or I'm chaperoning a overnight investigation or even just cleaning throughout the day. It seems like every time that we're there, something happens when we least expect it. And Ronnie can tell you that too, because we can just be talking amongst each other and we hear something. We hear we hear something on the 3rd floor when we're on the 2nd floor. Help me, Ronnie, here. You're going to have to help me here.
Well, she's right. One of the things that we find that's really, really, I guess, kind of common about our hospital is that when you least expect it is generally when something happens. Mm-hmm. We find that when we're working around the hospital or when we're just communicating as a group or with a group and communicating, it seems like our residents want to be heard. So sometimes they'll talk over you. Sometimes they'll pull your hair. Sometimes they'll do things to get your attention. But yeah, it's a really unique hospital. I think one of the things that I find is that usually the most haunted locations are those where there is a lot of trauma. And obviously a hospital, any hospital, whether it's an asylum or a regular community hospital, has a lot of trauma in it due to death and due to just people getting surgeries and that kind of stuff. So a lot of that energy, that residual energy, is kind of captured in the building, and we get all sorts of really unique and neat things there. I know we had just had a group there on Saturday night that was they left saying it was the most active location they've ever been to. This was a pretty experienced group, but they had everything from full body apparitions to disembodied voices to people's names in the group being called out. So yeah, very, very active, very cool location. One of the things that's really unique about the hospital is it is at the foothills of a mountain, and it is on a nice limestone plate, which really helps kind of transfer that energy.
Yes.
And then they say about 300 to 400 feet below the hospital, we have a natural spring. So that's kind of feeding that area as well too. So when you got that mixture of, water energy with the limestone energy, you just got kind of that perfect storm for energy for spirits to utilize to manifest and continue telling their stories.
I see. Where exactly is this hospital located?
We're in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. We're about 30 miles west of Chattanooga. We're right off of 24 and 72. Basically, if you're coming south, or if you're traveling south down 24 towards Nashville, you're going to get off on 27 and run right into the hospital. The hospital is about 6 miles down on the right-hand side of 27 off of 24. So it's a very easy location to get to. Spring and fall are my two favorite because the hospital does sit on the foothills of South Pittsburgh Mountain. So in spring, when you get all the flowers, it's got a beautiful backdrop. I mean, the backdrop behind the hospital is phenomenal. It's a very, very pretty location. But all in all, it's my team and I have really fixed it up quite a bit, got rid of a lot of the issues that were going on in the hospital, and it's really a pretty location. It's really pretty. Oh, did I tell you, by the way? It's kind of haunted.
That's not. It's haunted.
Just a little.
That's why we're here. Okay, not flower appreciation. That was Monday. This is Thursday. That's not too far from Georgia, is it? Yeah. By the way, I am from Georgia.
We're kind of on the border of the 3 states of Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. So if you're actually going to Chattanooga, you got to drive through Georgia. The Georgia kind of comes into that area right there. So yeah, you can hit 3 states in the matter of about 5 minutes. But yeah, we're right on the Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee line.
Okay. So I know exactly where you're at, and now everybody that's listening to you knows pretty much where it's at. Leanne, can you tell us a little bit more about the history of the place? When was it? When did it shut down, become abandoned? Well,
what did you say?
When did it cease operations?
Well, the hospital shut down in 1998 because the new hospital opened in Jasper, which is the town next to South Pittsburgh. And they actually just opened that hospital because it was closer to the interstate. It was going to cost too much to renovate South Pittsburgh Hospital. So after it shut down, there was a doctor that purchased it. Originally, they had discussed an assisted living facility, but that didn't happen. That would cost too much to renovate. So he actually opened up, and I think Ronnie just found out recently that people actually, there were some apartments on the ground floor. They opened up a flea market. You could kind of like a storage facility. You could pay $30 and keep your stuff there. Also, it was I'm drawing a blank. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank.
There was a pet shop. It was a tattoo place.
Tattoo parlor on the second floor.
A little bit of everything.
And also there was a embroidery area and a pet store. And so when did it become a paranormal location, Ronnie?
I don't know.
2011, I believe.
I've been going there for quite a few years because so the Hayes family actually was the one who owned it, and then there was a gentleman and a wife named Cindy, and can't remember Cindy's husband's name. Doug and Cindy ran the paranormal out of it, and I want to say that was probably 2005.
That sounds more accurate.
I guess right around 2005. And then we had a gentleman whose name was Jim. That when Doug and Cindy no longer were running it, we had a gentleman whose name was Jim, who became the caretaker of the building, and eventually died in the building, as did 3 or 4 people after the hospital had closed. It became kind of a flop house, I guess you would call it, where they did rent out a couple of the rooms in downstairs, and we found that a couple of them had passed away on the first floor. And I can verify this because when we had bought the building, the sergeant of the police department and I had a long conversation, primarily because we wanted to find out about Jim, because rumor has it was that he died in Florida, and then he died in the hospital, and then he died over here and over there. So we wanted to get kind of the bottom of Jim's story. And when I talked to the sergeant of the police department, she was actually the one who helped carry Jim's body out when he had passed away. So Jim's story is that Jim kind of had a really, really kind of a shitty life. He was beaten a couple of times by his father to the point where he was unconscious. Moved out of his house at the age of 16, joined the military at the age of 18, was honorably discharged from the military because he had some health issues. Ended up working for the Barnum and Bailey Circus, became a set designer for them, a painter, and then in his retirement ended up taking care of the hospital. Him and 3 of his buddies actually lived in an apartment in the hospital. 3 of his buddies actually went on vacation to Florida, and when they had come back, Jim had actually passed away of diabetic shock, and they found him laying on the floor, right beyond his bed. And that's what's really cool, like I said, because we talked to the police department, and the sergeant was the one who actually helped carry out poor Jim's body. But Jim is kind of one of those people that was kind of victimized and villainized when he was living in the apartment or in the hospital. And we later found out that Jim was actually a really good guy. He did a lot for his community, had a daughter, and stayed in contact with his daughter for a while, but ended up obviously passing away just from diabetic shock. He wasn't a drug dealer. He wasn't a druggie. Just a really good guy who was really bad or out on his luck. And he's probably one of our most famous haunts at the hospital. He sticks around. He likes young ladies. He likes playing music. He built a couple of music studios downstairs where he wanted to get into music. What do you call it? Not filming music. Creating
sound studio.
Doing sound studios and that kind of thing. Fell a little bit short, but was a guitarist. Was just a really, from my understanding, was really kind of an amazing man. And in his afterlife, he's even more of an amazing man. We had a group of a cappella singers who were actually in the hospital. It was probably about 3 or 4 months ago now, and they went into one of the studios and they were actually singing. Remember, an a cappella club is all females and they're all real high pitched singing. And they played the recording back, and you can hear all the girls singing, and in the background you can hear Jim's real deep voice singing with the a cappella group. So there wasn't any man in the studio. There was nobody there. It was just a bunch of girls, and you can hear him as plain as day, like singing in the background. It was kind of one of the coolest pieces of evidence that we kind of came across at the hospital. But Jim's been known to do stuff like that. He likes to come out and touch women in.
Did he freeze?
Whoops.
Did we lose
Yep,
Ronnie?
he froze.
Am I back?
Come back, Ronnie. Come back.
Okay, you're back. We can hear you now.
I'm in Tennessee as well. I'm actually right outside of Harriman, and we have a huge storm rolling through here. So I don't know if you can hear the wind. It's pretty nasty here. So yeah.
Yeah, all I hear is y'all's voices, so we're doing just fine. We're not picking up any wind noise at all.
Good.
Leanne, Have you had any kind of personal experiences there?
Yes. One night we were there. It was a group of volunteers. Ricky Hellard, he's with Pararealm Encounters. Him and one of his friends, Tim, they were at the hospital. And Brooke and I, she's another volunteer here. I call Brooke Ghost Bait because things happen to her all the time there. And Ronnie can tell you a little bit about that. But we were actually in the hallway one night, and we were in the Tri-City Clinic near the ER. Well, looking to the Tri-City Clinic. And Brooke and I, we were walking in the hallway, and then we went through a doorway, and then all of a sudden we felt something go like right in between us. I think that Ronnie was behind us when it happened. Were you behind us, Ronnie?
I was behind, yes.
Yeah, and we have a recording of it. I don't think that we ever really watched it, but that night was a crazy night. We and I think that Darla and Daniel was there.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of group of us.
There was a lot of people.
We were all walking down the Tri-City Clinic corridor, and I think Daniel and Darla were in front of you and Brooke.
Yes, that is right.
And then I was directly behind you, and it was really freaky because you could feel somebody in a hurry, and you could see them coming at you, and then you can kind of see Leanne and Brooke, as I was behind them, kind of separate. And then I felt the gush of wind go by me, and there was nobody there. And I just remember Leanne, the look on her face.
It was, and we didn't have any equipment. We had not one piece of equipment. I think that maybe Ricky and them, they had a REM pod, and we thought that we heard Darla come up the hallway before that and ask, "Are you okay?" And she wasn't even there. She was like on 3rd floor. Yeah. So that happens a lot. I've even been there. I've walked in and I thought I heard Ronnie up on 2nd floor. We've had some crazy things happen with that, about kind of like a little mimic, or if you want to call it that. But that night that we had everyone there, a lot of people from the team, that's probably the craziest night that I've had at OSPH. And like I said, we didn't have hardly any equipment at all. And I'm trying to think of another time. It's hard to pinpoint a time when you're there so often, because like I said, it seems like there's always an experience there. I'm trying to think. Well, Ronnie, you can tell him.
Have you gotten any EVPs?
EVPs, yes. Okay. So my boyfriend's a volunteer at the hospital as well. We were standing near the ER, and we were having an EVP session, and suddenly we saw something like a shadow walk behind us. And of course, he's a huge skeptic, which I believe, it's good to be a skeptic at times. And he ran out to the window, and he was looking out just to make sure nothing was flying across. And then I accidentally called him by my ex-husband's name. I got in a little bit of trouble. And so actually a few weeks later, we were going over the recordings, and my ex-husband's name is Paul. And he was listening to it, and I said, did we get something? And he said, I don't know if you're going to like this. And right before I called him my ex-husband's name, something whispers Paul, like really quietly. Then I say his name, and I said, see, it's not me. I wasn't the one that said it. It was the spirit. And come to find out, there was a Paul that actually worked in the ER at South Pittsburgh Hospital, and he's still alive. So, we thought that was cool. But that's another experience, that one of the many there. But that one stands out because I kind of got in a little bit of trouble with that one. So.
I bet.
Yeah.
Do you ever run any ghost box sessions in there?
Oh yeah, we run Ghostbusters. We also did the Estes method in the ER waiting area in the body box, which is the body cooler, which is where they held the bodies before the funeral home came to pick them up. Ronnie usually stays in that area quite often during the public events. And tell them about the time that the red ball.
Oh God, you're doing so good, Leanne.
No, you were the one that did it.
But you saw the video.
Well, I was downstairs.
Right. Well, there's been a couple of really bizarre occasions that we've had at the hospital, and one of the most bizarre, I think, kind of incidents that ever happened to me was we do a public investigation and they're structured. So we do two different types. We do a free roam, which means that we invite people to come over and they pay and they can roam about the building, do their investigation on their own. Or we do what's kind of a structured event, which means that we kind of host them and we take them from certain locations in the building, and then we'll do a ghost hunt based off of our knowledge of the building. And like Leanne will take a group, I'll take a group. One of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me is that it was last summer and we had a group of people that were doing an investigation. We do it for about an hour and then we take a 15-minute break. Well, one of the ladies comes downstairs and she shows me her cell phone and she says, "Hey, when were you on the 3rd floor?" And I'm like, "I was never on the 3rd floor." And she's got a picture of me standing in the hallway. And it was during Halloween, I believe, right? It was last summer. I had a Halloween t-shirt on. And you could see the t-shirt, you can see the gray beard, everything. I mean, really well detailed. I was never on the 3rd floor. I was never up there.
Yeah, and that's like when I've been there and you weren't even there. I walked up, I thought I heard you say, "Hey, Leanne," or you said, "Hey," and I said, "Oh, that's Ronnie." And I walked up and he wasn't even there. And that was like not the same time, but that happens often there.
Yeah, it was really shocking because, like I said, she was one of our really good clients and she does quite a bit of the hunts with us. And she comes down and she flips her phone over and she says, "When were you upstairs?" And I'm like, "I wasn't. I stay like Leanne said, I usually stay in the Tri-City Clinic where JB and I will do our investigation. So I never even make it to the 3rd floor." So it was really kind of neat because the picture that they got of me was, I mean, you're going to ask Leanne, it was to the T. Yeah. I even looked at it, I'm like, "Oh, that's a good looking guy in that picture." But yeah, I mean, everything right to the t-shirt. And she says, "Yeah, we like nobody saw you or anything, but you appeared in a picture." And I was just like, "Well, yeah, that definitely wasn't me." And then one of kind of the really unique things is that we have a really good, one of our really good volunteers, his name is Daniel Dorsey. But yeah, he's with SRT Paranormal. And when I first bought the building, we wanted to shut the water off on the 3rd floor, primarily because we have some drainage issues up there with some pipes that have popped. And so Daniel and I couldn't find the water main on the 3rd floor. And Daniel was what do you call it? He was a volunteer prior to me owning the building. So his friend Darla and him are very familiar with the hospital. And we were on the 3rd floor and couldn't find the water main. So Daniel's like, just for a goof, he's like, "Hey, does anybody know where the water main is?" And you hear this whisper from the other side of the building goes, "It's over here." And Daniel and I were the only two in the building at the time. So we both look at each other like, just no way. It just can't be possible. So we walked to where we actually heard the voices, and Daniel's about, 7 foot tall, Leanne? He's just a really tall guy. But so he reaches up and he moves the ceiling tile, and lo and behold, there's the water main, right exactly where we hear the voice. So Daniel gets down and he turns around and says, "Thank you." And you can hear "You're welcome" and footsteps walking away from us. And we both looked at each other like, whoa.
Wow.
Like, it was really kind of a unique experience. And what's really cool about that is it wasn't just me. There was, Daniel was with me, so he could back up and he heard it, he saw it, and all that other good stuff too. So it wasn't just an experience that I had; it was one that him and I had together. And there's just so many things, like Leanne said, that go on in the hospital that you lose track. It almost gets to the point where it's like you walk into the hospital now and you're expecting things, and when you don't, it's like, "Oh, what happened? Everybody's sleeping today?" But it's a pretty normal occurrence that we'll hear disembodied voices and footsteps and little boys playing with balls and just really, really unique stuff. So it's a really cool location.
Okay. How much you do public investigations there?
We do. We do public investigations. They range anywhere from $60. Well, actually, they range from $50 up to $129. It depends on if it's structured. It depends on if it's free roam. Or like a good example is it depends on.
I think he froze again.
Hopefully come back in a second.
There you go. Am I back?
Yes.
Yep, you're back.
So it really depends on if we have a celebrity, a paraceleb that's there doing an investigation. Obviously, we pay them to be there, so the prices of the tickets are more expensive. But like I think we have Brian and Michelle and Shane. We've had the Ghost Brothers. We've had quite a few of the pair of celebs at the hospital, Adam and Amy, and a good time with all of them.
Oh, so you have been on several of the paranormal TV shows then?
That is correct. We've been on Kinder Spirits, and then we were on Destination Fear. And then originally the hospital, I think, really got its popularity. Zach Bagans did a show with the TWC. I think it was called Paranormal Challenge. And that's actually how TWC got their start. Was Paranormal Challenge was where they took two separate paranormal teams. They put them in a building, and kind of whoever got the best evidence, right, who worked the best, was the one who moved on to the next round. And that's how TWC got their start, was with on that show. So everybody who knows TWC down here, that'd be the Race Chasers. Okay. But yeah, they come out to the hospital occasionally too and do a public.
Yeah, they're coming in August.
August 2nd, I think.
The first Saturday in August.
First Saturday. Yeah.
I was about to ask you, do you have any celebrity investigations coming up this year?
In June, we have Rochelle and Brian. They'll be there. I think it's the middle of June, Ronnie. And then in July, we have Shane Pittman and Josh Purvis from The Searchers. They'll be there the middle of July. The Wraith Chasers will be there in August, the first Saturday in August. And then we also have our October event, which... Did you announce that, Ronnie? Or?
I didn't. This is all on you. No, but I will go back. So June 18th, we'll have Brian and Rochelle from the Ghost Hunters. And then it is
Shane and Josh.
July 16th is Shane and Josh from the Holzer Files or the Searchers. Mm-hmm. And then August 6th is the Race Chasers. Go ahead, Leanne.
Sounds like you got a pretty busy summer.
Wait until you hear what we've got in store for October. Go ahead, Leanne. Give the details.
So in October, it's going to be October the 15th. We're going to have a prom night at the hospital. It's going to be from around, I think, is it 4 to 10 for the prom? And then afterwards, we're going to have a ghost hunt. So people can actually, we're wanting to base it off of, like, some of the scary movies like Carrie and the prom night movie. It's going to be scary themed. We haven't really. Are you going to announce who's going to be there, Ronnie? Or
no, that's up to you. Go ahead.
No, it's you. It's your thing. It's your thing. You're the announcer.
No. Go ahead.
We're actually going to have Rochelle and Brian and Shane and Josh, Shane Pittman and Josh Purvis. They'll be our special guests for that night. We'll actually have a prom king and queen. We're going to have dinner. We're going to have dancing. We're going to have photo ops as well. And then at 10 o'clock from, I think, 10 to 2, we'll have a ghost hunt afterwards. So we're excited about that. We've never done anything like this before.
Wow.
I don't think anyone's really done it before at a haunted location. I don't think so. So we're really excited about this. It's going to be a huge project, but we have actually a prom committee that we have at the hospital that's going to be planning everything. So we're looking forward to that.
Well, I wish you luck with that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I think so.
Something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the haunted locations we get in a rut. We kind of do the same thing over and over again. So Leanne and a couple of the other teammates came up with something a little different. I think Leanne and Brooke were talking about it. And
yeah.
Like, let's do something a little different. And Brooke and Leanne kind of bounced the ideas off each other. And I like new things. And as long as they're going to go ahead and plan it, and I don't have anything to do other than go up, I'm all in. But yeah, we figured we'd try something a little different. Because like I said, a lot of places just do a history tour and then they do an investigation and that kind of thing. So we thought maybe if we did a dinner and dancing and then a ghost hunt, it's just something a little different, something a little bit fun for Halloween. Shut those kids up, Leanne.
I am.
Do something a little different for prom. But yeah, it's kind of neat. And then to throw the celebrity aspect in there too, with Brian and Rochelle, the Ghost Hunters, and the Holzer Files being there. Just a lot of fun. And if anybody's ever hunted with Shane, Brian, Rochelle, and Josh, Who did I miss? That's right. All of them. Shane. They're 4. They're a blast. I mean, they're probably some of the most fun pair of celebs that we've ever had our time with. Because they're serious, but not serious. They like to joke around and have a good time. And I think the spirits really appreciate that instead of being asked, when did you die? To have kind of a fun aspect when you're doing a ghost hunt, I think kind of opens up some of the spirits and they really, really enjoy it, especially Brian and Rochelle and Shane and Josh, because like I said, they have a lot of fun when they're doing it.
Well, I agree with what you just said, because if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Yes, that's the way I look at everything.
Right.
If you can't have a laugh once in a while, if you're not having fun, not having a good time, you are doing it absolutely wrong.
Right, and I think even when you bring that into the paranormal investigating and you make it more of a fun situation, I think you get more responses, you get more activity. I mean, if truly spirits are past people, it gets tiring answering how old you are and what color your hair was when you died, and that kind of thing. So when you get more involved and you do things a little bit more fun, like one of the things that we do a lot frequently at Old South Pittsburgh is we do hide and seek, which I think we have a cool one coming up. That'll be on April 1st. So we're having April Fool's hide and seek. But we find that when we're playing hide and seek in the building, a lot of times the spirits will get really involved. I know we've had a lot of customers. We've had a lot of customers who have hidden in a location and they'll come out and they're like, you just missed us. And we're like, where were you? And they're like, oh, we were over here. I'm like, there was nobody even in that room. So we do have spirits that like to interact and kind of play the game as well too. I know before owning the building that my paranormal team, that's what we used to do, is kind of to get the evening going is our group would actually split up, play hide and go seek. It familiarizes yourself with the building. But number two, it also, like I said, it kind of creates that fun atmosphere. It kind of just lightens up the load a little bit and kind of makes the building a little happier. And a lot of in my opinion, I think a lot of the spirits really enjoy doing something different because there's not a lot of teams who play hide and go seek. And I think those spirits are like, hey, they're here to have fun. So, let's join in. And we have found that usually when we do a hide and go seek event, after that's over, we go into ghost hunting and we find that the spirits are ready. I mean, after hide and seek is over, I mean, the building gets really energized and really full of fun. So I think some of our best evidence has come after hide and seek. So, and like I said, it's a little different. I know our guests really enjoy it because usually our last round, everybody wins a prize and it's kind of neat. So it's something that I think we do very well and our guests love it. And it's usually a sold out event. So we usually have a lot of fun doing that.
Sounds like. What kind of evidence have you gotten from ghost box sessions? Are the spirits talkative to you there?
Go ahead, Leanne.
What did he say? I couldn't hear him.
I said, what kind of evidence? What kind of evidence have you found from using during a ghost box session? Are the spirits talkative with you?
Yes, they are. They interact. OSPH is kind of well known as a EVP hotspot. A lot of Class A EVPs. I'm trying to think of some that we've had recently from some of the staff. Ronnie, you can help me on this. I'm drawing a blank, but
we get so much it's hard to kind of
yeah.
But we had a group out a couple of weeks ago that got, oh my God, list of EVPs. I mean, one right after the other. And generally, they're pretty positive EVPs, which I think is kind of cool. A lot of them are actually kind of humorous, too. We've got some kind of joking around EVPs. Jim's really good at joking around with EVPs. But, I mean, I think Old South Pittsburgh was one of the places that kind of, in my opinion, one of the EVP capitals of the paranormal because it's one of those buildings that they just love the chatter in the background. And I think a lot of it, too, might be, remember, a hospital when it was open was really, really busy. So you've got a lot of activity, just a lot of people coming and going. And I think
okay.
He froze.
could be quite residual.
How many spirits? This is kind of a guesswork now. How many spirits do you think are active in there?
Oh goodness.
We get so many names. We get so many different voices.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of one of the coolest things that we ever did. And we can tell the story of Art. When I had purchased the building, one of the things that the old owners used to tell you was that the maintenance man, which I think this happened in every building across America, but the maintenance man supposedly died in his office downstairs. He had a heart attack and they found him slumped over the desk. Well, it was really kind of unique because after a public investigation, we were all at Cracker Barrel eating, and there's this guy at another table and he's like staring at us, like literally like staring. And I'm like, uh-oh, what did we do wrong? So I wear a t-shirt that says Ronnie Dee, owner of Old South Pittsburgh or whatever, when we're doing the public events. And he got up and he walked over to me and he says, "Hey, are you the owner of Old South Pittsburgh Hospital?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He says, "I'm Art. I'm the maintenance man." And I just remember looking at him going, I'm like, no, you're dead. And he's like, "No, I'm here." He says, No. For the last 8 years of me visiting this hospital, you're dead. And he's like, "No, I'm really alive and well, and this is my wife." And I think we had breakfast with him. We spent about an hour with him. And then I invited him back to the hospital. And I was like, "Come on back. Let's see what happens." Well, it was really kind of cool because we had brought him back to the hospital. One of the girls, a couple of the girls actually, were playing their voice recorders or recording. And as Jim is walking through the building, you can actually hear voices saying, "Hey, Jim." And so many different tones, male, female. I think what was really, really the most unique is that one of the claims of Old South Pittsburgh Hospital is that the elevators have been shut off since 2000. And people hear the elevator ding, like, right before the door opens. And so Art and I were walking on the second floor nurse's station right next to the elevator, and the elevator dings. And Art stops dead in his tracks and looks at me and goes, "Did you guys turn the elevators back on?" And I'm like, "Oh no, you can't afford that because they got to be inspected, and there's a lot that goes with having elevators in the building." I said, No, they're off. He says they can't be because that's the ding for the elevator. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "No way." And we had it all, it's all recorded. We've got it all, verified. And what was, like I said, what was really neat is that was a claim of the building, and we have the guy who was a maintenance guy there who recognized that sound immediately and was like, "Yeah, that's the elevator." But him just walking through the building and having the EVPs in the background of what we assume are going to be nurses and doctors and people who work there who are no longer with us, actually saying, "Hey, Art, welcome back." Like, they recognized him. And I know Art kind of listened to a little bit of the EVPs, and he started naming some of the voices that he heard. He's like, "Oh, this is so-and-so, and it sounds just like so-and-so." And we were all just kind of in awe. It was kind of neat. So it was kind of one of those days that you're like, when he came into the building, it just validated everything kind of that Leanne and I and the rest of the group have heard. So it's neat when you get somebody like that who's worked there. And Art's story was Art actually lives in the area. And as a young boy, he used to go to the hospital just to hang out. Like, literally, he'd just hang out. One of the things that Leanne will tell you is the cafeteria became quite a huge meeting place for the men of Old South or South Pittsburgh and and Jasper, and they actually used to go to the cafeteria just to eat. Oh, excuse me. We just got done with pizza, but to eat and to hang out with their friends, and
actually, the lobby area. It got one of the first color televisions in the area, and David he's the local historian. He said when they got the color television, it was one of the first ones in the area, and people would just come to the hospital and they'd sit down and watch television, and there was a payphone. They would use that. So it was, they came in there, and it was, the community loved the hospital. So it was kind of like a hangout.
Yeah. South Pittsburgh, it was kind of neat because it was not only a hospital, but it was really kind of a community event area. Mm-hmm. A lot of the people would come to the hospital just to hang out, just to have dinner at the cafeteria, or like she said, sit in the lobby, watch TV on the color TV. So Old South Pittsburgh was really, really part of the community, really part of the whole county, and pretty much the whole area. So I think that's another reason why the building has as much activity as it has, is because it was really, really a central part of South Pittsburgh and the surrounding communities, where even people who weren't sick would show up and have dinner or watch TV or do something that wasn't even hospital related, but use the building to meet up or to do whatever. So when you have all of that energy and you have, all those people who are supporting that building and many of them calling it home, you've got a lot of people that just don't want to let it go. Mm-hmm. And then you have 3 doctors who basically built that building with their own hands, their own money. You've got a lot of investment. You've got people who, doctors and nurses who work 18, 20-hour days, 5, 10, 20 days in a row without taking a day off. I mean, and we've talked to some of the doctors' kids where they were there all the time.
They were on call like 4 or 5 days a week, especially starting out. And even after they retired, they still would come and make rounds to the hospital. They loved it so much. And even the community, with all the additions to the building, they actually donated money to help furnish the rooms. So the community loved the hospital. So I'm just thankful that Ronnie came along and rescued the building, because, I mean, he's saving a piece of history, and that building means so much to the people in the area. We can be outside and someone will pull up and say, oh, I was in there, my appendix was taken out, or I had my tonsils removed, or when I broke my arm at the ball game, they brought me here. So, we actually spoke to the person, or Ronnie spoke to the person that the last baby that was born at the hospital, which was in 1986. That person stopped by. So we're really thankful that they're thankful that we actually rescued the building. And the building looks so great. Like Ronnie has said, people have actually stopped to say, is this an actual medical facility or what's going on here? Because, it is one of the few locations that you can walk in the front door when you get there. So you don't go in the back door to enter the building, you go in the front door.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because we obviously monitor Facebook and all other stuff. And there was a lady who kind of made a bad comment about the hospital. And she goes, every time I go past there, it's looking nicer and nicer, like a real hospital.
Yeah, people get mad that it looks so good.
And they get upset because we're putting so much time, money, and energy into it to make it look like, a part of the community. And I kind of got a little bit of offended at first. And then I was like, you know what? That just goes to show what a great job we're doing. Because we don't want it to look creepy. We want it to look beautiful. We want it to be part of the community. And we think that as we have been doing that the actual feeling of the building has gotten better too. Okay. When I had first bought the hospital, it was pretty dreadful. You'd walk in and you kind of feel really like you didn't want to be there. It wasn't very welcoming. Now you walk in and you feel, I feel very at ease. I feel very at home. And I think the spirits feel that way. And I think we're getting a lot of positivity from the spirits. And it's because we're taking care of the building. The old owners saw it as a big money maker. And we see it more as part of the community, part of the history. And we put the money back into the building, to make sure that it's going to stand for another 50 years. Because obviously once Leanne and I are gone and our team is gone, we would like the next generation to continue doing what we're doing too. And, because the paranormal research is pretty cool. Nobody's going to really know what's going to happen to us until after we die. But it sure is really neat speculating about it and trying to get evidence and trying to figure out what we're communicating with. So like I said, I think it's a really big piece of history. And I've been doing this will be my 19th year now. And I am a little biased. I mean, we own the building, we put a lot of time in it, but I can't truly think of a location that I've ever been to before that just has this type of activity. And there's been so many times where I've been fooled when we're doing a public investigation. I've been fooled by watching somebody actually leave the group of people and walk away, and me getting yelled at by one of my staff members, go get them, because keep them in the group. So I'll walk down the hallway to go get them and be like, you can't leave without somebody taking you, not to be able to find that person who walked out of the group. And then I'll go back to the group and do a head count, and there's the proper number of people in the group. It's been so many times that, like I said, that you would see a full body apparition just leave a group. Like our spirit was part of the group. Like being
Okay, looks like he froze up again.
Yes.
Welcome to the internet.
But I couldn't even tell you how many times that I have seen an extra person that's just standing there, involved in what we're doing, and then just walks away, kind of like, all right, got to go do my rounds. But there have been times where, like Leanne and I would be standing and talking, and all of a sudden we just see somebody walk right past us.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, literally, like we'll be looking at Leanne and I look at each other like, who the heck was that?
Mm-hmm.
Did we volunteer? I mean, where they just literally walk past you. And that's a pretty frightful experience when you're in a building and you have an extra person walking around that you're not quite so sure who it is. But that's one of the things that I really enjoy about paranormal investigating is just, it's surprising.
You never know. We got about 9 minutes where we've got to go to commercial break. Got to sell stuff, do you have internet there?
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing a live, either Facebook or YouTube show from there and see what happens?
We have for sure. Right now we've got our hands full.
Yes.
Well, not something that's coming up here real soon, but we're kind of in the middle of another location that we're putting together. I'm a hospital freak. I love hospitals. I don't know why, but we're in the process of purchasing another hospital. So we do. We've all kind of tossed around the ideas of doing stuff like that. I think one of the things that you kind of lose when you do that is really with OSPH is really the feeling that you get when you walk in the building that you can't get when you're on TV. When you walk into the building, it draws you in.
Yes.
I mean, we've got a lot of guests that keep coming back. And
some of them become volunteers.
we had a lot of the groups like book their next night before their night's even over that night. And it's really, really funny because a lot of people walk in the door. And my favorite is when we do a public investigation and we have, a guy who walks in the door who's brought his wife because his wife has the hots for Zach Bagans or somebody like that, wanted to get involved in paranormal research. They walk in the door and this big 6'5" guy walks in and, there's no such thing as ghosts. And 20 minutes later, guess where that guy is? He's sitting in his car because he's scared to death because he saw something he can't explain. And I know Leanne and I and Heath will usually man the front door at sometimes, and it's neat to kind of watch that guy sitting in his car while his little 5'2", 100-pound wife is running around the building not afraid of anything. But the skeptics are what really kind of, I think, make us the most entertained because they walk in kind of with a chip on their shoulder and, this is TV, this isn't real, this just doesn't happen. And then they get their hair pulled or they get scratched or somebody whispers in their ear or something that they can't explain happens to them and they're sitting in the car because they're done. And I think we had a public investigation a couple of weeks ago where there was a mom and a daughter had come in the building and they were both believers. Mom had an experience and she was done. She saw what she wanted to see and she spent the rest of the night in her car while her daughter was running around the hospital with, the rest of the group. So it's kind of neat. And I think our building has a tendency to kind of make the non-believers believers too, because I think they want you to they want to be recognized. A lot of these, like I said, a lot of our spirits, I think, are healthcare workers. They've been with the building for a very, very long time. And I think a lot of our healthcare workers are like, hey, we want you to see what kind of a job we did when we were here and that kind of a thing. So a lot of them like to reach out to you. And a couple of our doctors are still in the building. And Leanne could tell you about some of those really cool experiences.
Me?
Okay.
No, did he have to go on break first?
Your turn.
Okay. Dr. Taylor.
We got 5 minutes.
Okay. So Dr. Taylor was one of the founding doctors, and he was always known to carry a pipe with him because, at the time they could smoke in hospitals up until around 1991, I believe. And so this actually first happened to Ronnie. I believe, because you walked out of the bathroom and you saw this smoke, right?
Mhm.
And he smelled it. It smells kind of like, at first to me, it smells like burnt coffee grounds, but then it becomes like a maple syrup. But have you ever smelled of rabbit tobacco? Do you know what, like a pipe tobacco? Have you ever smelled that before, Lynn?
Yes, I've smelled the real thing, and I have smelled it in locations where there was nobody smoking a pipe within a mile of the place.
Right. And we have one volunteer, the one I told you that was ghost bait. We actually did some research, and Dr. Taylor's wife looks a lot like her mother. And it seems like whenever she's around, this happens. Like, it doesn't matter where we're at in the building. It happens. It's happened with us. It's happened maybe Tri-City Clinic, but also around the nurses station, like the main nurses station on second floor. If you turn your flashlight on or a light on, you can actually see the smoke above it. And sometimes it's so strong that even people that wears masks in the building, it even makes them cough. And so
Really,
we don't. It's the craziest thing. That's another crazy thing that's happened there, but it's almost unexplainable. And I think that it's even happened to her, even at her house. But people that see it, I mean, it baffles them. You know, we have people saying, well, they've even told her to empty her pockets, look through her purse. She has nothing on her when this happens. It's crazy.
Okay. This always kind of reminded me of a hospital that's nearby that I would love to have. I don't have the cash to do with, but there's one problem. The roof has been off of it for years, and it's got a mess on the floors. It'd take thousands of dollars to redo it. And there's a problem with asbestos. Do you see a asbestos problem in the new place you're getting?
No, we see, and kind of the really bad thing about asbestos is asbestos has got a really bad rap. It's not as dangerous as people think it is, and it's primarily found in only a couple of different products, which Tennessee doesn't use a lot of. But it was primarily used for insulation around pipes, around boilers, that kind of a thing. And it was produced in floor tiles. And generally speaking, that it was the 9-inch floor tiles that had them. And you have to remember that asbestos is only dangerous when it's airborne. So if it's in a tile and the tile is affixed, it's not going to do any damage. It's primarily when the tiles are lifted, cracked, or broken that it becomes an issue. Asbestos, I forgot what, because I did all the studying prior to buying Old South Pittsburgh, and I know Old South Pittsburgh didn't have any, but really the southern states don't use it as much as the northern states do. Where I'm from, Chicago area, it was pretty much used everywhere. And a lot of the buildings up by me, that's the reason they knock them down primarily, is because they're so asbestos laden. But primarily it was, like I said, it was in those two items the most. And primarily if you have the insulation, as long as it's secured and wrapped, it's not really an issue. Fortunately for us, we don't have that issue. All the tiles are 12 by 12, which is really good. And there's really not a whole lot of insulation in the building, to be really honest with you. And then the insulation that is there is fiberglass insulation. So yeah, we don't really have those issues. And then the new building, all of the, all the mechanicals are in a completely separate building. So it's not even part of the hospital. It's actually in an outbuilding on the back of the building. So yeah, really, we don't have that issue. The only issue that we have is just getting in there and getting cleaned up and getting it ready to be, utilized. Because the building has been sitting around for about 9 years now. So we do have some issues with leaks and some water here and there. And of course, because it's a building that, doesn't get a lot of air circulation, there's some mold in there that we've got to remediate. But for the most part, it's a pretty clean building. Looks real good. And after the break, we can talk about that because there's some really cool instances we had in that building as well, too.
All right, let's go on to commercial break, and we'll take up with that subject when we get right back. Everybody listening, we will be back in about a minute and a half with our guests, Ronnie and Leanne. Be back in just a short.
Warning, the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Rochester Winter Parafest is back, March 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2022. Come say hi to Naked and Afraid celebrities Melanie Elizabeth and Trent Nielsen, Haunted Case Files Jack Kenna, Monster Quest Steve Coles, and more. This event has it all: paranormal investigators, UFO researchers, Bigfoot researchers, and even photo opportunities for the kids with Buddy the Bigfoot. Oh, okay, adults too. Come on down and get a tattoo from Ink Master Tony DeVille. There are psychic gallery and individual readings, as well as radio personalities, authors, jewelry, makeup artists, and so much more. It's only $15 per person, and children under 10 are free. March 25th, 26th, and 27th of 2022. For more information, go to WLFE-DB.com. Yes, Winter Parafest is back. Valley Oak Event Center, Geneseo, New York, next to Denny's.
Try again, buddy. Try again. Yay! Okay. Oh yeah, good job. Oh.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.
And we're back. You could tell the owner of the network I'm on, WLFE, is from the New England area. It's actually in the upper New York area. It's not too far from New York City. And I'm one of the few Southern-based shows on his network, which makes it interesting. And I will make the same offer to you that I'm making to a lot of people. If you want any of your events shown on this network, on this show, make me a 20 to 30, 40-second video. You can send it to me on Facebook Messenger, where we've been talking for the last couple of weeks, Ronnie. And you can send it to me, and I will show it for you.
Ronnie will make the video for you because I won't.
Sorry, Leanne, that's your job.
No.
Yeah, right. We're all pointing at you, Leanne. We're all pointing at you.
I'm trying to learn how to point.
I know everything's backwards.
Wait,
the other way.
The other way. I can't go that way because I'm holding the phone with my other hand. I'll have to practice that.
Oh, you're on your phone. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on my phone, so yeah.
Okay. I'm actually on a laptop.
Me too.
With just a combination camera and microphone, just stick it on top of the screen. That's why I can look at myself, and it looks like I'm looking dead into the camera because they're only a couple of inches apart on my smaller laptop screen.
Oh,
Okay. We were talking about we may have been talking about the old Pittsburgh hospital or something before the break. And we'd say we continue with that area. So, Ronnie, first, let's go ahead and state, who you're with and the name of your group and where they can contact you, and then we'll resume our conversation.
Sure. So I'm Ronnie. I am the president of OSPH PRC Incorporated, which owns Haunted Old South Pittsburgh in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. In my opinion, probably one of the most haunted locations there is pretty much across America, but it's a beautiful, beautiful location down in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, not South Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, because a lot of people will be like, oh, are you in Pennsylvania? No, we're in Tennessee, where it's currently rainy, but 65 beautiful degrees here.
Well, the temperature will probably drop because it's already dropped here. We had a high of about 72, 73 degrees here during the bad weather. And just before showtime, it dropped down to 62.
And Leanne, who are you, Leanne? Who is this girl right there?
Yeah.
I'm Leanne. I'm with Haunted Old South Pittsburgh Hospital and Haunted Harriman Hospital.
And what do you do for us?
What do
I'm
you
the
do?
historian at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital.
And
OHH.
So, okay, we were in a pretty good discussion before the break, and of course, we had to talk about Buddy the Bigfoot there for a second, which is he's a great guy. He's an older fellow. He will not give an interview. He will not speak when he's got that costume on. He will go, give you sign language and go through the motions, as you saw a little bit in that video. But he will not speak. He no matter what you say to him. So he's a great personality. But back to what we were talking about, the old Pittsburgh Hospital. I think we were talking about some of the spirits that were there. One question I wanted to ask, we did not cover the first half of the show. Are there any spirits who give you a hard time? Either don't want to talk, or maybe they like to play bad jokes, scare people, or just on downright ornery?
Go ahead, Leanne. Tell them about Johnny.
I don't know.
Johnny.
Johnny.
You know, the dirty one. Oh, you weren't you? Okay, I thought you were there. So we have a new spirit that has kind of come around. I'd say the last couple of months, and he goes by the name of Johnny, which we don't know if that's his real name or not. But Johnny likes to get really dirty with the ladies, real bad, like during EVPs, during Estes methods. He will make a lot of really nasty sexual connotations, ask the girls if he can play with certain body parts of theirs.
Where does he show up at? He's been
pretty much throughout the hospital, but primarily the Tri-City waiting area.
Oh, okay.
We were doing an EVP or an Estes method. God, I don't remember when it was. I'd say it's probably 4 or 5, maybe 3 months ago. We had a 16-year-old girl who was actually in the body box, and her mom was outside of the body box. And I think she got really a lot of enjoyment out of it because it was the first time in her life where she could actually use words that I don't think were very appropriate for her mom to, for her to be walking around saying. But Johnny likes to talk about what he likes to do to ladies and their specific body parts. He's a very dirty old man, and we've had him maybe 3 or 4 different groups come out, and he's got a very distinctive voice in the EVPs. So when you get the EVP and he uses I won't say the words, but he'll use slang words for ladies' body parts, and he likes to say what he likes to do with them. But getting back to that, the 16-year-old girl was in the body box, and people were asking. We lost it, and she was a little embarrassed, to say the least. But Johnny was talking about how he wanted to just do certain things to this young lady, and it was pretty wild. But he's kind of a new spirit that's, I would say, just come around in the last 5 or 6 months. And he, for some odd reason, really likes blonde girls. And when they're doing the Estes method or EVP, he comes around and has a lot of dirty words to use. He's very playful. He's not harmful or malevolent. I think he's just a pervert, and a big pervert. I mean, he uses words that even at my age go, ooh. So, but I think it's kind of fun. Go ahead, Len.
For those of us that are not familiar with what you're talking about, since you're talking about the 16-year-old girl, can you describe exactly what the Estes method is and what a body box is?
Sure. Go ahead, Leanne. You tell them what the body box is.
I'll do the body box. You do the other one. Teamwork.
Go ahead. Tell them what the body box is.
Okay, the body box. Well, there wasn't officially a morgue in the hospital. Originally, before the ER waiting area was added, they basically held the bodies in a room in physical therapy. So when the body box was built, it would hold 4 bodies. And the funeral home would usually come to the hospital to pick up the bodies pretty quickly. They didn't usually stay there very long. Really, the only time that the body box was used if there was like an identified body, if they're waiting on identification, or if they had to be sent somewhere, like, out of state, that type of thing. So the body box is actually, if you, it's kind of to the side of the waiting room, but we didn't have the keys to open that door. So basically, there's like a big, would you say, hole in the wall, an opening in the wall, which is funny because it's the women's restroom is actually on the other side of the body box. So we get a lot of activity in there with the Estes method in the body box.
So the Estes method, there's a couple of different ways to do it. Some groups like using a spirit box or a ghost box. Other people use like an app on their cell phone. I think Necrophonics is one of them. I think there's a couple of them, but primarily what it is you try to run your spirit box backwards. So basically you're going backwards against the scan. So what's supposedly supposed to happen is that the spirit can manipulate that energy or create energy to create words with white noise kind of thing. And what's really neat about the Estes method is when you put them in the body box, which is kind of a sealed room except for a little bit of an opening. And then they'll put soundproof headphones on or noise canceling headphones on, so they can't hear you. So then you have the rest of the group that is usually in the waiting area, which is probably about 10 feet away from the lady or gentleman that's in the body box. And you'll ask questions. And hopefully what'll happen is the girl or man that's in the body box, or wherever they are when they're on an investigation, can't hear the questions that you're asking. So like a good example is I could say, is there anybody here with us? And you kind of wait a little bit. Hopefully the lady or gentleman who's got the headphones on will give us a name or something that corresponds with the questions that we're asking. And what's really, really unique about that is because they can't hear you, there's no way for them to really make up that evidence. So if I'm asking a question and they can't hear you and that question gets a direct answer back, there's no way that they could have faked that evidence because they can't hear you. And the body box in our location of the hospital is a very active location. It works very, very well with the Estes method. I know when we had Kindred Spirits out, we had Adam and Amy out there, and Amy was actually doing the Estes experiment in body box, and she lasted about 3 or 4 minutes. She got a bunch of direct answers when she was doing it, and then somebody actually pulled the chair out from under her, and she got up and says, "I'm done. I'm not doing that anymore." But literally, it got to the point where they pulled the chair so hard that Amy almost ended up on her butt on the floor of the body box, and she came out pretty scared. But that happens quite a bit when we do that, especially in the body box. We will have guests that they'll be responding, and they'll get some really, really great responses, but then they'll feel presence with them. They'll feel somebody standing over them or next to them. We've had a lot of instances where young ladies would come out and they would, like, somebody was rubbing through their hair. But that is a really, really active location of the hospital for the Estes method and for being touched. Like I said, a lot of our clients who go in there come out with, somebody was rubbing their fingers through my hand. I know that at one point in time we had a lady come out because she felt somebody put their hand on their shoulder. Like literally, she could feel the 4 fingers and the thumb, on her shoulder, and she comes running out. And she's like, "I'm done. That's it. I felt the hand on my shoulder, and I'm the only one in there." And so that's a really active area. But the Estes method is really kind of a unique thing that I'm not sure where it really came from, but it's really cool, and we utilize that a lot because it's one of the things that it's really, really hard to fake that evidence unless they're taking the headphones off. But even in that situation, because the way the body box is orientated, you've got a wall that's separating yourself and the person that's in that room. So the likelihood of them hearing you is really slim to none. And as a matter of fact, when we're asking them to actually do the Estes method, the object of that person is just to basically sit down and listen, and then they yell out everything they hear. And a lot of times we can't even hear them yelling out what they're hearing, and we're on the other side of the wall because of how thick the wall is and that location. So when they do come up with a good piece of evidence, like Leanne will ask them a question and we get a direct response, we can all look at each other like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And then a lot of times, like I know Leanne and myself and a bunch of the other groups, we like to, when they first go in the body box, like ask them a really, silly question or try to make them laugh or do something to make sure that they're not cheating the system.
Act like there's something crawling on their shoulder or something, like a spider, and to make sure they don't hear it. Because sometimes, you wonder if they can really hear it or not, but they can't. We always make sure.
Yeah, we want to make sure the evidence that we're getting is true, and we don't have somebody sitting there just going, if Leanne asks, "How old are you?" 14. We don't want somebody to have false evidence out there. We want the truth. So a lot of times, like, we'll ask something stupid, or we'll be, "Oh, there's a spider," like Leanne said, "Oh, there's a spider on your back," or to get them. And if obviously, if they can hear you, they're going to jump or they're going to comment back to it. So we found that about 95% of the people really want to do it. They want to really have that experience. And the other 5% of people, I've walked in the room where they've got their headphones back here and they're listening to your questions, and that's their prerogative. But I know that 95% of the time we get really good clients who really, really want to experiment and do it. And like I said, some of the answers we get are really, really cool. I mean, Leanne can tell you, we get some really, really unique responses out of the body box area.
You would probably love this hospital it's in Dumas, Arkansas, not too far from here. You probably wouldn't be interested in buying it, even though it is for sale, because it would take thousands of dollars to get it back. You'd have to rip up the carpets. It's probably got black mold, been exposed to water for years. But it had a unique thing. It doesn't have one of the rooms you're talking about. It was a smaller hospital, one story in a small town, and they didn't have a place to store the bodies for the coroner to come pick them up. But they had 2 waiting rooms for the emergency room. So what they do is only use one. And if somebody died in the hospital and they call the coroner and tell them to come by here and pick up the county coroner to come pick up the body, they would wheel the body into the other waiting room. And I would love to do some experimenting like you're talking about in those 2 rooms.
Right.
That would be a heap of fun. But again, I don't have the money for it. You could probably buy that hospital for $10. City doesn't have the money to put a roof on it. It's just dilapidated. A lot of the roof is gone, or parts might as well be gone, and the city can't spend thousands of dollars. You walked up with a nice crisp $10 bill, but they're gonna make you bring it up to code pretty quick.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You'd have to have some numbers in your checking account, even though the building wouldn't cost you a whole lot.
Right. Yeah, I'm finding that it's really unique because I think a lot of the locations and hospitals that
No, he'll come back in a second, hopefully.
He'll be back.
I think what they tab it as a cold room, not really a morgue. The hospital that we're looking at here, same thing. They didn't really have a what do you call it, a legit morgue. They kind of had a room that they kept really chilly. And I'm finding that the more hospitals that we look at in the southern states really didn't use a lot of morgues. They kind of used a chilling room or whatever until the mortuary guy got there, or funeral director or somebody like that came and picked them up. I find that really unique because now where I'm from in Chicago, all of our hospitals have morgues. And so it's a little unique down here that they have like a body box, or what I guess they're calling chill rooms or whatever, where they keep the bodies. And we kind of have one of those stories too at Old South Pittsburgh where Jimmy was actually a city councilman, and he spent, I think it was 60 days in Old South Pittsburgh where he actually had a gallbladder infection, and they took his gallbladder out. And when they put him back together, apparently he had a little bit of infection going on, and his body actually started eating itself, kind of the way that he described it to us. And he spent about 60 days in the hospital, and he was actually walking down the physical therapy wing as a child. Remember, I think he was 14 or 15 years old. He opens up a door, and there's a body laying on a stainless steel bed with a foot tag on it. And I think he had said that was the first day he had ever seen a dead body. But it was the same thing. It was in South Pittsburgh, and it was just in a chill room until I think at that point in time our body boxes were full. So they did the same thing. They just put a body in a chill room, and poor kid walks in and there's a dead body laying on a gurney with a toe tag. And he says that was the day I recognized what a dead body was like. But that's the kind of neat thing that we get from South Pittsburgh is a lot of, since we have taken it over and since our team has become really strong, we're getting a lot of people who really want to tell the story of the hospital, talk about its past, talk about their interactions there. And we've got a lot of that support. And I think that's really kind of neat. Because one of the things that we did, Leanne coming in and Darla coming in and talking about history is making sure that it's accurate and correct. Because the one thing we want to make sure is that the doctors and nurses that work there and all the employees get their fair share of compliments and things that they did, because the hospital was a big ordeal for Marion County. Like we talked about earlier in the show, it was not only, a place where you went to go get healthy, but it was a place where you hung out with your family to go get dinner and watch TV too. So it played a huge role in Marion County. And that's one of the things that we're trying to really correct is all of the past history that wasn't necessarily true. And like I said, I make sure the doctors and nurses all get their due, because it was a pretty special place. Like I said in the beginning, there were doctors and nurses that spent 18, 20 hours a day there, and we talked to one of the doctor's daughters, and even past, like Leanne said, even past his retirement, he'd just show up at the hospital and make calls and hang out and aid and do this. And in today's day and age, when somebody retires, the last thing they usually do is go back to their job to help out. And I think that's something that really set South Pittsburgh apart, was that even after retirement, even after a lot of the people left the hospital or left healthcare, came back every once in a while to either hang out or help, or it was a very big community event. And I know that's something that my team and I we feel very important about, making sure that community knows that we're supporting them and that we're telling the truth about what happened in the building and not making up stories, because we know the darn place is haunted. I mean, like I said, with the experiences we've all had there's no question about that. We don't have to sell it as a scare factor. And we're more about the research than we are the scare factor. We really want people to come in and bring new gadgets and bring new toys and bring stuff and really, really try and get to the bottom of what we're studying, because like I said, we're just tipping the iceberg of the paranormal. We don't really know, what's going on. And the more good groups we get from Chattanooga, the one group is phenomenal. We get in all the time. But the more professional groups come in, they do a lot of really good work, and it's a lot of fun to listen to their evidence and that kind of stuff. So that's what we're after.
Okay. Have you ever had any dealings with another young lady who I've had as a guest on this show, the paranormal biker?
Oh, Miranda?
Miranda, yeah, she's really
Yes.
nice.
Yeah. Miranda, I think they're running the
Dutch County
historic jail. Yeah, I talk to them frequently. Her and her friend Chris are really great people. I think we had them in the hospital
last March.
They came by
Memorial Hunt.
Yeah, for Memorial Hunt. Great people. Miranda's a sweetheart, as well as her friend Chris is. And we wish them nothing but the best with the historic jail. It's a pretty cool place that we got all to get up to. Our new location is actually not too far from them, so we're going to support them as much as we can and help them out, and hopefully they'll do the same with us.
Okay. I am actually supposed to appear on her show next week.
You'll have fun. It's a good show.
I had fun with her on this show. You can imagine her personality and mine. We kind of cut up a little bit. And Ronnie, you said something a few minutes ago that you're from Chicago.
That is correct.
How long did you live in Chicago? Were you born there, or?
I was born and raised in Chicago. I actually still live in Chicago. I'm here in Tennessee 1 week, and then I'm in Chicago the next week. I own a couple of businesses up in Chicago, and then I own a couple of businesses down here in Tennessee. So kind of spread out. But generally, I'm here 1 week, and then I'm in Chicago the next week, and I just flip-flop weeks. So,
what do you do in Chicago?
I own a company that imports saltwater sharks. I also in the pet industry, also in a couple other industries. But yeah, primarily that's kind of my background. But paranormal has really been my thing. I've been doing it for I think this is my 19th year. Kind of traveled coast to coast and border to border with friends and relatives and family, and really, really enjoyed it. And got to the point where I wanted to do more with it. And that's why I bought South Pittsburgh Hospital. But I love the paranormal. It's really, really cool, but I really, really like the history. And what I'm finding is that when I'm in these hospitals and we're working and we're just doing the things that we do on a regular basis, whether it's fixing the roof or scraping up a floor, I find that my best paranormal experiences are when I'm doing those things. It's really when I'm not paying attention to what's going on is when I'll get a tap on the shoulder and somebody whisper in my ear, I'm doing it wrong, or telling me to turn that effing nickel back off.
That was funny.
So, well, I would tell you that.
They're one of my favorite groups, so you stop that. But I was actually in Jim's area one night, and I was cleaning up his area. I was actually bleaching the walls to get rid of some of the residual mold that was on there. And I had Nickelback on really, really loud. And yeah, I heard in my ear, turn that shit off. That's not exactly the words he used. That wasn't exactly the words he used. They were a little stronger, but we're at a family show here. So, but yeah, he and it was really funny. I'm like, whoa, what was that? So yeah, needless to say, we don't blast Nickelback in Jim's area anymore. He's more of a classic rock kind of guy. But yeah, I've had all sorts of experiences like that with Old South Pittsburgh. And like I said, primarily it's when I'm not doing anything. It's primarily like when I get in the morning, I'll unlock the door. I walk in, I'm by myself, and I'll hear, "Good morning, Ronnie." And I'm like, "Oh, who beat me here?" But there's nobody there. It's just me. Or we'll be locking up at night. We'll hear, "Good night, Leanne. Good night, Ronnie." They've become really, really vocal. And I think a lot of us who are there quite a bit, like Leanne and myself and Darla and Daniel and Brooke and Ashley and Jeff, they really, really get to start knowing you. And they said they really start enjoying you, and they'll walk up to you and be like, "Oh, good night," or "Good morning." Or like I said, there's been some times where I've been working on things where I was doing it wrong, and I get a whisper in my ear, "You're doing it wrong." And I'm like, "Well, here, then do it for me." But yeah, like I said, it's really kind of neat. So, but yeah, it's an exciting building. It's an exciting time for South Pittsburgh, because I think I think the last 4 years is probably, since it's been open, probably the best 4 years of the building's life, because I've got a crew of about 30 people with me that just care as much about the hospital as I do. And I think they recognize that. And, I owe it all to them, because they're the workhorses too. I mean, it's my ideas and that kind of thing, but they carry out everything to the T. And like I said, I think the spirit's coming in the building, and they see the changes that we're making and how we're cleaning it up. And we're trying to make it into one of the finest hospitals, post hospitals around. And, they appreciate that. And I think they become very vocal about it. And like I said, some of us, they recognize a lot, and they're not afraid. So,
he kind of paused there for Leanne. Ronnie's talking about he's from Chicago. Are you from Tennessee, or are you from somewhere else?
No, I'm from Tennessee. Yeah, I was born.
Tennessee Vol fan?
I used to be. I don't watch football anymore. I don't watch football.
No, see, I'm a hockey guy. I played hockey my whole life, so we're trying to get everybody to like the Preds, right? Got to get them into hockey.
Okay. I'm a football fan. I played baseball for a while, so I'm kind of happy that UGA won the college championship, and then in the Super Bowl, a UGA grad won the Super Bowl.
Well,
back for the Rams.
He deserved to win that Super Bowl. That poor guy in Detroit, because he's a talent. He's very talented. And
yes.
They kept putting him in Detroit with lousy players and
11 years.
Yes. So hats off to Mr. Statford for doing such a great job there in LA. Really wish it would have been a different team than LA, but hey, he definitely deserved to win that Super Bowl.
Well, Leanne, have you ever had some of the instances that Ronnie was talking about when you first walked into the place? Somebody just started talking to you?
Yeah, sometimes I get there for day tours and no one else is there, and I'll walk upstairs and I'll see something past the hallway, or I'll hear a noise from the distance, or I think I hear somebody talking. I think I hear somebody running down the clinic area or upstairs on the 3rd floor. So like you said, the most happens when we're there working.
When you're least expecting it. Like when you're not even trying,
mm-hmm.
is when they seem to really, really enjoy it. We had an instance which was kind of cool. Was we had a brand new all girls team show up, and some of them like to go in cold, so you don't give them any of the history. They like to just do everything on their own. And then some of this group wanted the history. So we're at the 2nd floor nurses station, and I think it was myself and 4 other girls, and we're talking, and I'm telling them about the hospital, and as clear as day, within probably 5 or 7 feet of us, we hear a voice of a man and a woman having a discussion, and they're talking about the subject that we're talking about. And the girl looks at me and she goes, "Who else is here?" And I'm like, "Honey, it's just us." And she says, "Well, do you hear those voices?" And I said, "Yep, welcome to OSPH." And they were the voices. I mean, it was a full-blown conversation between what my guess would be was a doctor and a nurse. And they were, like I said, within 5 to 7 feet of us. It was so clear that our little group that was talking, we actually stopped talking and listened, and you can hear them having a discussion. And I think once they realized we were listening, you can that was the end of the conversation. But the girl looks at me and goes, and I said, welcome to Paranormal Investigating. You just had your first real experience. And she was just in awe. Mm-hmm. And they had a really good night that night. They had a lot of evidence. They had a lot of things happen. But I think one of the things that's really the coolest for us as the group is when we get a newbie in and they have that first experience and they look at you like just with this puzzled look on their face, and you can't explain it. You just can't explain what you're hearing, seeing, or whatever. And they look at you like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. And I'm like, yeah, that's something that happens pretty regularly here. And then the end of the night comes and they're like, oh, we're going to book again. We want to come back in 2 weeks because we had all this stuff happen. So it is really neat. And Leanne actually summarized this once, is that once you have that first experience, mm-hmm. you become addicted. Mm-hmm. It's literally like a drug, because it's like, okay, I heard voices. Well, now I want to see a full body apparition. So you're always kind of reaching for that next milestone. And as us as paranormal investigators, the holy grail of ghost hunting is seeing a full body apparition. And I know that a lot of groups, that's their thing, is they want to see that. And OSPH every once in a while will give that to you. But like I said, it's kind of an addictive thing where you get that EVP, or you get something that just makes you believe. And then you got to go back and do more and more and more. And you hope and pray that the next piece of evidence you get even tops the last one. And I think that's what the addiction is with a lot of us in the paranormal, is that it starts out with an EVP, and then it goes to a shadow person, and then it goes to, and it just keeps building. And then there's a point in time where you have all these experiences, and now you're like, okay, well, I've had this, but what is it? And then you go to the next level of investigating, and that's wanting to know how they do it. Is it, how do you explain it? What's going on? And I think that's where the addiction lies, is just trying to get to the answers. And I haven't been doing that a lot lately, because I really, really just enjoy those I don't know what those random times where you just happen to have it. And that to me is the most exciting, is like, I don't go out looking for it. They kind of come to us. And I think that's really neat, because they do it on their terms now. Like, I'm not actually hunting out, Dr. Taylor or anybody like that. I'm just kind of doing my job, and he'll come by and he'll make a comment or blow smoke or do something. And that's where I'm at right now in the paranormal thing. Because I know it's real. I know it's out there. I can't explain what it is. But whatever it is, it's fascinating, and it's really, really, it's addictive. It's very addictive.
Yeah. Leanne, how long have you been in the paranormal?
Well, I haven't been in it very long. I was always interested in it as a teenager, but where I live, it's in the Bible Belt, and a lot of people don't even agree with what I do now.
Right.
They think feeling. That, you're sitting around wearing, black lipstick, black makeup, you're covered head to toe in black, and you're sitting there next to candles. So, and it's not like that at all. But I actually met someone that introduced me to Ronnie through actually JB and another gentleman. He had a Facebook Live, and I've only been in it since 2018. So I'm very fortunate that I stumbled upon Ronnie and Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, because nothing against any other paranormal location, but no matter where I go, and even if I have the greatest experience there, I think, I miss home, and OSPH is home. And like Ronnie said, once you start going there, if it becomes a part of you, it kind of, the building, how was it that Darla states that, Ronnie, like the building chooses you? And that's, it's very true. And I don't know if it's just because we're like a big family at the hospital, all the volunteers, but like you said, doing a Facebook Live investigation, that may be an interesting thing to do, but the feeling of walking in the building, it's hard to explain unless you've been there. Have you been there, Lynn? Have you been to the hospital?
No, I have not.
Oh, you need to come. I'll give you a day tour, and I won't be shy. I'm good. Like in a day tour, I can talk and talk and talk.
I did not tell you exactly where Star City. I'm outside of Star City in Cane Creek Township, but I did not tell you exactly where it is. If you look on a map and you find Pine Bluff, Arkansas,
okay, and
then you go run your finger straight south, you'll run to a town a little bit smaller than Pine Bluff. Pine Bluff has been shrinking. It was the second largest city in Arkansas decades ago, but it's now shrunk. And now what they've got is a fast improving hospital and a casino that's about a year old, the Sarasota.
Okay.
So they're becoming a casino town. But if you go straight south on a map with your finger from Pine Bluff, you'll drag your finger through Monticello, about 50 miles to the south. Run that same finger right straight back up, and you'll see a road going straight from Pine Bluff to Monticello. You get about halfway, and you should see in very tiny print, since it's only 2,200 people, where Star City, Arkansas is. We started out. This town is not very old. Star City is only got founded in 1870. On what they call the old military road that used to run, it still kind of does. Pieces of it used to run from Pine Bluff to Monticello. But we come through Pine Bluff, and I don't know if you know this about horses, but 25, 30 miles is about all you need to get out of a horse riding it. It's not like the Westerns where it looks like they're at a gallop for 15, 20 minutes during the movie, and then go chase somebody else for another 10 or 15 minutes. That doesn't work. Those were a lot of scenes patched together. Horse carrying a rider of any size is about 25, 30 miles is about all you're going to get. So what they did, they had a small place where you could spend the night and rest your horse, rest yourself, feed and water the horse, grab you something to eat. And that's what there was just about a mile or so from where Star City is today.
Oh, okay.
And yes, I am on the bayou, the Bayou Bartholomew, the longest bayou on the planet. And I'm within an eighth of a mile of it from where I'm sitting.
Oh, okay.
I was actually pulling up. I was map questing, trying to find out where Star City is.
Okay. I'm not that far from you, actually. We're in the Mississippi River Basin. We're about 2 counties over from the river. So going over there would not be that long of a trip.
No, you need to come out. You need to bring Greg with you, right, Greg?
Who's Greg?
Greg Koss.
Okay, so he must be in the chat room. I forgot to turn that.
He's one of my
yeah.
He lives up by me.
Okay, yeah, Greg Koss is a good friend. I actually had him on for 2 weeks straight on the show here. And by the way, I used to I didn't tell you this to start with, Ronnie. I lived in Chicago for 14 and a half years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I also got to work with Dale Kaczmarek.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dale is part of Greg's group.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've worked with him on several different locations in Chicago area. Mm-hmm. And did you ever go to Bachelor's Grove?
I have. That's actually not too far from my house. Yep, with Resurrection Mary.
Yeah. Well, no, that's Resurrection Cemetery.
Oh, that's right.
About Bachelor's Grove Cemetery.
That's correct. Bachelor's Grove.
The abandoned one. Yes, it's south of there. I was actually you remember when Richard Crowe passed away? I was actually at his funeral, and at a good size, kind of fun wake across the street over at Chet's Melody Lounge. I was actually one of the speakers at that wake.
Oh, wow.
Because I was in the Westerners and the Civil War Roundtable with Richard, and got to work with him his last John Dillinger event.
Oh, wow. So
because he died in June. Yeah, this was July the year before.
You were at the Crown Point Jail.
No, his event was actually at the Biograph.
Oh, okay.
He would get out there on the anniversary of the shooting of John Dillinger, and at the exact time he would bring the crowd, whoever was there, to in front of the Biograph at the time Dillinger walked out, and then slowly walk down the sidewalk to get the timing right, and would arrive at the alley where Dillinger was shot at the time he was shot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just very impressive. I got to investigate the alleyway before and after Richard Crowe's event. So I got to know quite a few really good people. Dale is a fantastic person. Mm-hmm. Richard is the godfather of us all in the paranormal in the Chicago area. And Greg Koss is just, he's a national treasure. Greg Koss is.
He likes to think he is. Right, Greg?
And Leanne,
Hmm?
Leanne
Yes.
has no clue what we're talking about
I have no idea.
unless you've met with Craig Coss and talked with Dale Kazmarek. If you get a chance to see Greg's show or to see Dale Kazmarek when he does his occasional Facebook Live, or see either one of them on Edie's show, you'll be listening to some fantastically educated individuals in the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
You got lucky in this is my opinion now, really got lucky, because this is what people who've been in the paranormal a while tell people when they say, well, what do I need to do to get started? Well, the first thing you need to do is find the best paranormal group in your area. Do some calling, do some checking around, and find a good, honest paranormal group that you can get along with and work with. And you got lucky and found it in Ronnie.
Yeah, I really did.
Because he and Craig and Dale are some of the gold standard in finding paranormal people.
Oh, very much so. And no drama, which I think is the most important part of that.
Yes, you notice we haven't discussed politics here. I do not discuss politics on my show. I don't discuss any drama. If you got a problem with anybody, I don't want to hear it.
Nope.
I will probably eventually. I would like to stick my big toe in the drama a little bit. I'd love to get the owner of Waverly Hills on this show and discuss all the issues they're having.
Just a few. There's just a few. Just a few.
Just a wee bit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Ronnie, one thing about Chicago and Bachelor's Grove Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that told Dale who the White Lady of Bachelor's Grove is.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They didn't know about that?
Dale did not know who it was. He just had the photograph.
Oh, wow.
And Leanne, if you look up ghost pictures on Google, on the Google machine, you will see a lady semi-transparent sitting on a stone with a crosshatch patterned on the sides of the stone. That's the White Lady of Bachelor's Grove, the Madonna of Bachelor's Grove. Okay. And it took me about 2 years of research to figure out who that is.
Well, that's probably one of the most famous pictures of a spirit, because that's never been debunked. Yeah, that's really an amazing.
And I found out that it's Amelia Patrick Humphrey. And I emphasize her middle name because her maiden name, because there's a reason she came there. About the second largest outside of the common held, the one with the big stone in the back that everybody photographs with a child that may or may not have a child buried there. It's the biggest. That's the biggest plot in Bachelor's Grove. The Patrick plot's the second largest. If you go in the gate and you go walk about 10 yards and straight down the path toward the back, you'll pass what used to be a double tree. They've cut it down, but the stump's still there. And right in front of you will be the Patrick plot. And that's why Amelia was coming there. She's buried in a cemetery 4 or 5 miles away, by the way, the crow flies, over in Orland Park. But she was married to John Humphrey, and their firstborn child, they were married in 1863. The reason I knew, I picked up that it was her, I went on tour of the Humphrey house, and they had a picture of her, Amelia, and John's wedding picture.
Oh, wow.
From 1863, and a picture of a note that was written where their firstborn child died in 1865 at 11 months and 4 days old. Lily Mae Humphrey. Lily Mae was buried in Bachelor's Grove because the cemetery at Orland Park, which, by the way, John Humphrey helped found, and was the first mayor there. And later on in that decade, that century, he became the most powerful man in Cook County, outside Chicago, and fought having the World's Fair there in 1892. 1893, the Columbian Exposition, the World's Fair, Chicago, which is one of the stars on the Chicago flag. But due to the fact they couldn't bury him in a plot, their new plot at the Orland Park Cemetery, their child was buried in the Patrick Cemetery, her family plot in Bachelor's Grove. And the Patricks and the Humphreys left the area, and back in the 80s, or late 70s, when the county was saying this cemetery is now abandoned, we need to move the headstones and move the bodies. If you can come get your loved ones, please do. The Humphreys and the Patricks were all gone, and
You're muted.
Did we lose him?
I think so. He's on mute. Or he turned his microphone off, I think.
Oh, we lost him.
There, he's back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay, I cannot see myself yet. There we are. Well, the wonders of the internet. But anyway, the Humphrey House is still available for tour one Sunday a month, and that's something that took a lot of research to do. Like I said, it took me about 2 years to figure all that out. But I've worked in Bachelor's Grove with Dale on several occasions. He's a great guy. So yeah, I'd love to go to that place. But I'd want to be, on a smaller public tour or something.
Well, I know Greg is talking about coming out again. So maybe when Greg comes out, we can get you in the building as well.
Well, we can see, we can try. And I was quite serious about you sending me a short video. Okay. And be glad to do some advertising if you've got a major event like the October.
Leanne will do that.
I know which way to point now. So
we see, Ronnie. What you got to do is you got to give Leanne plenty of camera time, so she's used to it. I mean, talking into a camera, especially when you're looking at people, it's just like talking to a person.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it because we have. I can't announce it or anything, but we have one of the major TV networks coming out to film our new location here pretty shortly, and Leanne is one of the people who is slated to be on national TV. So,
well, that will be different because it's not during a live.
No, they're worse because I've done them before, and you've got cameras all around you and lighting on, and 100 people standing in front of you, all asking you questions, and yeah, that can be really
less scary than this because, like, this is people looking at me right now. At least with that other stuff, they can edit everything.
We're all looking at you, Leanne.
Craig is still there. Hello, Craig. He just said you had to feed your chipmunks on your internet, and the only internet. Let me see if the camera can pick it up. Is that? That is my internet connection. That's not cable. There is no cable available out here. No fiber optic. Downtown Star City is developing fiber optic for the high school and the courthouse. They're still laying that system down, but they're not coming out this far. This is the system.
Is that
we got a grant from the? It's kind of a cell phone on steroids. What the two big paddle things are antennas shooting out a window. And they got a grant from the federal government to get some faster internet than what they had, which was only satellite. And what they did with that money they got from the government was build some towers, kind of like cell phone towers. And I can just plug that in. It's plug and play. All I got to do is just plug it at the wall and point it out a window. And I've got internet, and that's what it goes through. Gives me a wireless system throughout the house, but it's not the fastest. And if the weather is changing, so you got things that were above 70 degrees here today and are probably below 50 now, and will get below 30 before the night's over. So I've noticed temperature changes really affects my speed on the internet. Plus, it's a new system. They're still working the bugs out. This thing wasn't online until the late fall. So, they sold it to a lot of people, and you know what it is. You got a lot of usage. You got to start adding some fiber optic to your system and trying to get your speed up, and that's what he's got to do. So I'm looking forward to a little bit faster internet in a few months. But occasionally right now, you're going to have what Craig picked up. The chipmunks need to be fed.
I just think it's really funny because your audio and your video are a little off. So when you're talking, the words don't match your lips. So it's kind of fun to watch. It's kind of like watching a Godzilla movie where it's subtitled.
I'm not speaking Japanese.
Your computer thinks you are.
But at least you can understand what I'm saying most of the time, even though it might be out of sync with my lips.
Yep. That's all right, though. We can understand you.
Of course, what I could do is do the whole show like this, and then it wouldn't matter to you.
That's true.
But let's see. We got about 3 more minutes here. Leanne, it was great having you. You got any last things you'd like to say?
No, just thank you for allowing me to be on here, and I hope you come to see us sometime at the hospital.
Well, I definitely want to keep in touch with you, if nothing else.
Oh yeah.
Ronnie, if you got something you want to say to me, Leanne, you can send me a friend request.
Okay.
Ronnie No Squares, Lynn Dorman, just on Facebook. I can get about 30 new friends. That's about it.
You have room for one more.
I have room for one more. They do have a 5,000 friend limit, and I am running 4,900 about 60.
I have like 760, so I have room for you.
Okay, plenty of room there.
I don't.
So we can be friends to talk paranormal sometimes.
Okay.
Ronnie is a great guy. Love talking paranormal with you. Like I said, I put you in the same boat as Greg and Dale. Y'all are a lot of fun. Y'all very knowledgeable, and it's just a pleasure talking with the two of you and talking paranormal, because both of you obviously love your location and love what you're doing. Oh, yeah. And Ryan, if you could end us all with one more time, how to get in touch with you, and if somebody wants to get into your location, how to book a night.
Just call her. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. You can reach us at osphprc.com, or just go on Facebook at Haunted Old South Pittsburgh Hospital. And one of the really cool things is look out for us in the next couple of weeks here, because we will be announcing another new location. It's another hospital located here in Eastern Tennessee, about 168,000 square feet of all sorts of spooky stuff. We never did get around to talking about it, but there was about a group of 8 of us that had just an unbelievable experience in the building, our first night there. So you'll just have to have us on, Len, for another show, and we can discuss that one. But yeah, look out on our OSPH page, on our Facebook pages. We'll be announcing here in the next couple of weeks that we'll be opening up the building. We'll be taking reservations for overnight investigations, and it'll be our second home away from home. Nothing will ever take OSPH away from us, but yeah, this building's pretty cool. It's really large. It's been around since the early 30s. I think it has 4 expansions on it, and it's got Grey's Anatomy. It's got Grey's Anatomy staircases. So
wow,
kind of a unique looking hospital. Very beautiful, but yeah, very, very haunted as well too. So it's got all sorts of stories to tell, and it will be on one of the major networks real soon here that they're out filming these upcoming times. I can't give dates, but they'll be out there filming, and then we'll be on TV, and hopefully we'll get a bunch of people down to the new hospital and we can share some more paranormal experiences. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think Leanne, myself, my team, we really enjoy what we're doing. We enjoy the paranormal as much as the history. And like I said, I think our biggest thing, the reason why we do it is because we like to share what we're doing. And when that person has their first experience, second, third, or 15th, we love sharing it on that. We love to hear, people's experiences and what they think it is and what they don't think it is. And so it's pretty special. We're a pretty special group of people in the paranormal world. And there's some, like you mentioned, Greg and Dale and yourself. There's some really great people out there. And we enjoy surrounding ourselves with those kind of people and having them come to our facility and learning about our spirits and our history is phenomenal. And just look out for us here in the next couple of weeks, because like I said, we will be announcing that new hospital and how you can book that hospital and be one of the first teams to ever book it, because it's new on the market. It's has some really, really low hours in terms of investigation. So this is a building that's just chomping at the bit to tell its story.
Well, boy, that storm coming through is paying havoc tonight.
Yeah, it's not as bad here. I think it's over to him now.
Ronnie, if you want to, on your new location, just take a little video of the place, get you a good, you've got a good voice, just overlay it with, describing the new place, and I'll be glad to run a little 30-second ad for you.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Anything to help out quality people in the paranormal. We need more people like yourselves.
Well, thank you.
In this universe. All right. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. I'm running a couple minutes over, but I was told the boss man of the network, Ted, he's not going to fire me for running a minute or two over. Although they do have another show coming on right now.
Okay.
But good night to both of you. I look forward to talking to you on Facebook, and keep me in the loop about your new location, about when you're going to get started.
We sure will.
And Leanne, just keep on working your experiences. Maybe you want to appear on a couple other shows, get some camera time. You did a great job tonight. Absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
And just
maybe
keep up the great
Ronnie
work.
Will tell me like the day before. Instead of
or at least an hour before.
15 minutes wasn't long enough?
No.
Ronnie, she's not she's not like me, you, and Craig, a bunch of old crotchety guys that, I'm gonna be on a show. All right, let's go. Let's do it.
I think the more Leanne does these, the more she's gonna like them. She did so well tonight.
Yes, you did outstanding.
Yeah,
especially since you've never done this before.
Ronnie.
This is great. That doesn't sound good.
I think she's gonna push me down the Grey's Anatomy stairs.
Well, if she's like my wife, you may get a hit in the belly. That's usually where my wife strikes.
Thanks for the idea.
On that note, let's wrap up the show.
Thank you.
Good night, y'all. This has been fantastic. I look forward to having you on the show again sometime.
Okay,
Good
thank
night.
you.
Thanks so much for
When
having
you
us.
get to the other location, we definitely going to have to come back on here and talk about the new location.
Okay.
Excellent.
For you, I will.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Bones, which is my co-host. Y'all, you didn't see him. He is my co-host of the show. And here is Bones. So, Bones, take it away.
Thanks for watching our show. Be sure to tune in to next week as once again we journey way down south into Bayou Country for another heaping portion of Southern Fried Paranormal with Len Dorman and Bones. Make sure to like, share, and follow. Y'all come back now. You hear?